Welcome to More Than Renovating, a Renovate and real estate podcast. Our founder, Belinda Smith, talks to industry experts to provide you with the knowledge and information you need to make renovating for love and profit your reality. Belinda will also chat to some of her Renovation Mastery members, who are just everyday people doing extraordinary things, following their passions in the renovation and property space. So, let's jump straight into the episode. Enjoy.
Hi everyone, welcome to Renovate and Real Estate's podcast, More Than Renovating. And with me today, I have James Monaghan. James is from Sell My Home for More. James does renovating full time, I believe. He also does a lot of running. So I'll get right inside James's head for you all and find out like how the business started and what James does. So welcome, James. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. So I have been I suppose heavily into renovating for quite a while now, and that's my main source of income and really enjoy it.
What were you doing for a day job, and like what made you transition?
Yeah, so I guess I was a labourer. So I was working in like a warehouse and then doing some labouring work as well. And I guess I had an interest in property from a young age, and was listening to a lot of educational audio books, and I suppose came across Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then saw property as an opportunity to create a better future. And I did like the idea of renovation because it was short and sharp, and found that quite interesting. And so I started to do a few, and then progressed through to doing enough where some money was coming in that perhaps was possible to replace my income. And here we are.
So for a while you were in your day job, like you were labouring and doing some renos on the side.
Yes, and I suggest that's the best way to start, because then you can have the income coming in and then also the ability to borrow, and that way you're more independent on the journey.
Yeah, 100%. A lot of people are very excited about quitting their job and then starting it. I'm like, no, don't quit your job. Start first. Go through the level of discomfort where there's a lot to juggle for a short amount of time, and then get through a few renovations and then start to look at it. And by then you've worked out whether it's for you or not. So just so people know, what areas do you focus in and around when you're renovating? Like what's your favorite areas location wise?
Yeah, so I was originally Adelaide based. I'm now Geelong based. So sort of southern Victoria. So I actually travel anywhere. So probably in the last 4 or 5 years, we've renovated in South Australia, Victoria, New South Wales, at least one in each state. And now we've gone a little bit more rural, based on, I suppose, a lot of houses there's lots of popularity and people wanting to buy things. So we've gone a little bit further in different locations than we normally would, just to try and get a bit ahead of the market and have a bit of less competition when buying. So everywhere.
So, which is really good to hear that like buying now is different than was buying a couple of years ago. And then you just changed it up a little bit and done what you need to do to still be able to continue.
Yes. Yeah. So originally it was not too far from home. It was a little bit simpler, but now, it's often we're doing 8 or 10, 12-hour drives away from home, often staying away for long periods of time to be on the tools when need to be. But we had to really adapt, and originally it was just a flip, and based on the market moving now, we're holding on to several of them to enjoy some of the capital gain, which is, I guess, a new experience for me, rather than just in and out in 5-6 months. So
it's my favorite. Capital gain takes no energy. Well, I think a combination of both is necessary. That's where investing's great. Renovation, I think, is just a strategy that can just boost your progress fast. So when you're talking about the types of properties that you're doing, what kind of properties are you buying? Like what price point, and how much are you spending on your reno, and what kind of profit are you pulling from the renovations, if you don't mind me asking?
So I guess I'm working in the lower brackets, I suppose. So most of the properties we'd actually buy are under 400,000.
Yep.
And our renovations, I suppose the type of property are typically the ones that no one else would buy. So they have to be really bad, because we generally, in that sort of a price range, we're trying to get about 160,000 sort of uplift. So less our expenses. So Working back from that, we're probably about a $50,000 or $60,000 spend, and we've been averaging about a 75,000 sort of profit over that sort of price range, and that's sort of shared. We normally bring in a money partner, so that's across the renovation team and the money people.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's typically where it is. Sometimes it's a little bit cheaper if it's a little further away from the I guess the big cities, but
and
yeah.
So how fast can you get through a renovation? I guess that depends on the property itself. I answer my own question.
Yeah.
Like how many of those per year could you turn over?
Yeah, so a fast one is probably 4 weeks for us.
Yeah.
So we've bought and sold within 60 days is the fastest, where we've actually the 2 settlements. So renovation in between, and then selling in between that process as well.
Yep.
But typically we would allow about an 8-week period. And that might be the first couple of weeks if there's something structural that's required. But generally we're trying to be, sort of 2 months, maybe 10 weeks, renovation complete, then, signboard up, and the sales process beyond that. So, 5 or 6 months is a typical, I guess, time frame. Yeah.
Cool. And so you formed your own team. Does all you guys just go out together to these locations and stay together and just get the work done? Or do you look for local builders and tradies on the ground?
Yeah, so we ideally try and keep it local, depending on the distance. So in some of the areas we're working at the moment, there's just not the tradesmen available in the time frame that we need. So we have to pay a bit extra, bring people up, accommodation. But we find that the speed at which it can be done and the quality of work is worth paying that bit extra, and trying to complete it faster.
And also when you're working,
I think you did. Sorry.
And when you're working with people over and over again, you can get or you have a really good concept of their ability.
Absolutely, and it's fantastic having done that, and then knowing when budgeting for the next property to allow for the spend and time frames and things like that, and it just makes it a lot easier next time around when they're repeating with the people again. And I think you've asked the question before with the time frame of a property and then how many could we do in a year. So obviously depends. The most I've done is 9. I think this year will probably be possibly almost double that if we keep things on focus, and we're now stepping off the tools where we're very hands-on up until this year, and it just doesn't make sense to try and save $8,000 in labor with me doing things when we can find the opportunity to create do another deal somewhere else. So
and that's when renovating is not exhausting, and so you can do a few more.
Absolutely. And I find that when I do go away, after about 3 weeks, the joy and excitement kind of has dwindled. And then it's good to have support from a team to come in and take it from there.
Yeah, I agree. I know you've been hands-on for a long time. I see videos and footage on your Facebook page and bits and pieces about you and your gorgeous partner and the kids all in. And
yes, that's right.
And you, all right, so you still find time to run. I know running's a big part of your life, and you still find time to do things that bring you joy.
Yes. So I've probably in the last 5 or 6 years. So a little bit about me beforehand. I had a business, and it was a money lending, and I lost quite a lot of money, and went through a bit of a tough time physically and mentally through that period. And then I sort of discovered running. And so now it's my James time. So I try and run probably about 5 or 6 times a week at the moment, and really enjoy that and get away. And I suppose I love running around the new areas as well. We'll look at some properties and then stay overnight, and then I'll jog the area in the morning to just to discover. You
get a really good look from on the ground. Really good look.
And the people, the neighbours, always are very, very comfortable sharing in what's happening in the area. So it's good insight.
Yeah, I agree. So are the people at local cafes. They're always happy to chat. So what
Yeah.
keeps you at it? Is it the love? Is it the money? Is it the you want to blow your business up so it's really huge? Like, what keeps you at this?
Yeah, so initially was the previous business, so I was in debt. So debt was a great motivator, with the idea of then eventually keeping some of the properties and creating cash flow from, I suppose, keep the properties themselves. Now we've evolved and we've really decided we want to do volume. So do more properties, go into, I suppose, towns, and really do a huge number of properties in there and really sort of transform, I guess, the town itself. And then, everyone gets a bit of an uplift through the town, and then move on to the next one that's, looking for some growth potential moving forward. So it's really, the focus is on, I suppose, building a business that can run without us.
Yeah, that's the next step. And so you'll just be operating it from home. I mean, you might have to do some drives and some property inspections, but you just won't be scrubbing floors and walls and painting and tiling.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so we'll still identify the area, then we'll go in and we'll do the buying and negotiation. And then, so in particular, we're finding project managers that we're, I guess, teaching them our system at the moment, with the idea that then they can, there's less and less involvement from us. And so we're doing a lot of things we do love. Some of the things I actually do like getting my hands dirty.
Yeah.
It's it's fun. I love ripping out the kitchens and things like that. So I still don't want to completely eliminate it, but have a bit more choice, which is, I think, an important factor to have. That hasn't always been the case, where out of obligation, when there is no money in the bank account to finish the renovation, then it's me. So
yeah. So is there anything you've done? A lot of how many renovations have you? Do you mind if I ask how many renovations you've done so far?
Yeah, so I would have done, it's probably close to about 50.
Yeah.
So I've done about a bit over 80 property deals, and not all of them have been renovations, and not all of them have been, a big transformation, but going in there and just a quick clean up to move on.
Yeah, so you've done a lot of property deals, and you've done a lot of renovations. I think you've done about 40 when I asked you that question the last time, so I'm not surprised at your 50. Is there anything that you find daunting about a renovation project at the moment?
Not so much at the moment, but it's probably the one thing which is often a challenge, is if now we're looking at doing multiple at once, and then it's having the right finance structure. And typically that is having the right money partner, really. And a lot of people are looking to do joint ventures with us. However, that's great, but as a business, you're always looking for cheaper money, and that's probably has been a bit of our challenge moving forward. And then it's also availability of trades in the new areas, and knowing the quality and time frame that they're available in. And that's can be a challenge, and that's what we're trying to work through at the moment.
And what part of renovating or doing this lights you up?
Probably I like seeing the transformation,
and
then reflecting upon what it used to look like. So we take plenty of photos prior to and during and then afterwards. And sometimes it's when you're in it, you actually don't notice the progress until you go back and look at the photos and look at what you've been able to create, and that's always been very exciting.
Do you get your properties styled before you put them to market, or what does that depend upon?
Pretty much everyone we do, yes. Recently we've been selling a few because the market's been pretty hot, so we've put the word out there once we've gone into the property, and sometimes we haven't had the need to do it, but if it's going to market, then it's got furniture in it for sure.
And so do you think that makes a difference to price or speed, or why do you think?
Primarily price. I think we do get more. Also, I guess when you look through a house, if you're looking at an empty house, you could little dings in the wall and
that's true,
things like that, and that kind of eliminates all of that option of people looking at the furniture. But I think then people have the vision of this is not just an empty house; it's the future home, and with the furniture in it, that helps to create that that idea for them.
And also helps people, if some people have got more of an idea than others about what room should be used for what and where their lounge should be and where the TV should be located, and all of those things are helped with good styling. And you're right in creating a wow factor about the stuff that's gone well and perhaps hiding maybe a little ding in the wall or,
Yes.
a paint drip.
When the houses are, 50, 60, 70 years old, there's, they've had probably a tough life, and getting that all immaculate is not always a simple, smooth process.
So how long do you think you'll continue doing this for?
Well, I've always had the interest in property, so I really do enjoy doing the buying and the finding. So that's what excites me. I guess obviously there's some other property strategies that do interest us, and we're looking at putting some granny flats and things like that in the backyards, and also development would be interesting. Yep. But I always think I would like to, renovate the front house to keep it, and then if there's a development, in the backyard. So at this stage, renovations all the way.
So you've been really, really good at finding something that works for you and getting amazing at it because you're repeating the process and just staying in that lane for a while, and then opening your mind to, okay, next time we might do this, or we might do this in the future, like you were saying there with the granny flats. So I applaud you for that, because so many people are so tempted to do 5 different strategies or 3 different things, or and then they end up doing nothing because they're trying to look for the perfect scenario. So renovating for you has done what in a nutshell?
Well, I guess with sticking with renovation by itself, it's being able to take the thought out of the process, where we're creating more of a system, and we know what needs to happen. And I find when we're learning any new skill that, it's not that simple for me to do it. And I really do, I suppose I dive right into education, and spend a lot of time on that, getting better and improving, and then working out what's gone well and what hasn't. And I think that's probably the ability to do that continually has kept me in the renovation side of it, and improve the system, and then also becoming, I suppose, ideally a master, I suppose, in my area, in my little niche.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Do you think that having run a business once before and applying a business mindset to the vehicle renovating has helped?
Yes, I think so. Yeah. I suppose when I first started, I had no idea about anything. It was ridiculous, like embarrassing if I told you some of the stories. And I had no, there was no record keeping, there was no plan, it was just rock up and then spend, probably 15 hours a week actually just looking for tools that I'd put down in the house in a different room. And that's no word of a lie. And then, I suppose I've done a few educational things on business to become more systemized and keeping records and things like that. And it hasn't been a smooth process, but definitely does help to, go from, something I enjoy doing to more of I suppose, an income stream or in business.
And so retirement? Yes, no, never.
Yes, I think if money wasn't the issue, if there's no issue and income was coming in, I think I'd get bored pretty quickly, and I would definitely be doing something. I don't think I could sit on a beach for very long. I would like to try, but that's a while away. It's I still enjoy the doing at the moment. So.
Yeah, me too. Honestly, lunch with ladies, I'm sorry if anybody's going to ask me out, but it bores me. So I'm so not ready to do lunch with ladies every day. So I'm with you on that, even though you can. All right. So what do you think that you being so active in this renovation space and you've had a business loss, and then you've gone into this, and now you've made this work for you, and obviously you're succeeding at this, and you've been successful, and you've done a lot of projects. What do you think the message is that has sent to your family?
I think, the idea I try and get is if there's a problem in front of us, like what can I do now to solve it? And it's always been about creating solutions. and that's with a house that needs some work, and then also with problems that occur along the way. Is go, okay, there's a roadblock, now what can we do? And to, I guess, trigger the brain to start to think of ways rather than, you know, shutting down options. So probably that's the key thing I'd like them to take on board is, how can I ask that question more often.
Yeah, it's so important for kids to see us doing the doing. All right, so if you could share one key learning from renovating with the people listening to this podcast, what would that be?
Probably ask someone who knows more what you need to know. So when you come to a roadblock, just don't freeze. It's someone knows the answer, and with a community like this, you can actually reach out and get that answer a lot quicker than you could when I first started, because I didn't know anybody and there wasn't communities like this. So someone will know the answer, and you know, there's a whole bunch of people willing to share that with a simple message or a phone call to help you move forward.
Thanks, James. That's a quiet plug for Renovate and Real Estate right there. I appreciate it. But like, I know it's exciting for me when you join the community, and there've been other people who've joined my community who are clearly not beginners, like clearly already in the trenches. And it's really nice for me to get a message. And I did one day from you saying, hey, I learned a bit more, or you did something different to your bathrooms moving forward from what you'd heard at a boot camp. So that's awesome for me too, to hear. But what I take from that is just how open you are to continually learning and improving. Every property, every course you do, every community you mix with, it's just a growth mindset. So I'd like to applaud you for that. Moving forward with the rest of 22 and also 2023, you want to do more renovations. What would you like to achieve financially? Like, do you set goals financially, or do you just kind of think, if I do this many projects, I'm going to end up earning whatever?
So up until this year, it was more about, yes, like how much profit can we make across the year?
Yeah.
Now we're looking at increasing the value by sort of, if we can, sort of 20-25%, then refinancing it so we can keep it. So now it's a bit more focus on creating the equity and then creating cash flow. So it's more of a cash flow target that we have now.
Yep.
Although we will be required to flip some to fund things along the journey, but yeah, it's more of a cash flow. And so target of how many properties we can keep through that process
to reach that cash flow income that you need every year, so that then you can, well, you've got more choice as to whether you want to do some small developments or you want to keep renovating, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, all about creating the choice, and that's why we do the renovations.
What's renovating done for? What's it done for you personally?
Yeah, so I've had a bit of a think about this, and what I actually lacked quite a bit of confidence initially, and I had, especially when my business went down, that I took a real confidence hit for a long time, for years, and I still was able to go out and do 3 or 4 renovations throughout the year, although I did think I'm not worthy of being, in business or a business partner, but I made a lot of people a lot of money who joined me on the journey through that, and I guess that restored my, I suppose, ability in myself and other people's confidence as well. So I think it's just the confidence, knowing that if there's something that needs doing, I can jump in there, and I'm happy to try and solve it. So and get it done.
Oh, so that's such a nice thing for you to share. I really appreciate you being that open with me and everybody who's listening, because wow, a lot of us hide a lot of stuff from everyone else in relation to how we're feeling at the time, and it's very real. I see people, because I speak to so many people coming into my program, some people come through and they bring everything they've been through with them to that interview. The businesses that have gone under, or property deals that haven't done so well for them before, or marriage breakdowns, and all of these things all form part of our past, but they don't need to form our future. So blessings to you, James. Thank you so much for sharing that. And it's been super nice watching your journey, and more things to come from you. The sky is the limit. For everybody who's just listened to James talk about his story, and if you wanted to reach out to James, you're really welcome to. James, you said before you'd be happy to share your phone number. Is that?
Yes. Yep.
Right.
That's 0412 999 286.
You can contact James direct, or feel free to go to the Facebook page, Sell My Home for More, and you can have a bit of a sticky beak at James and some of his projects on there. And I know after I've said that, you'll go straight back to Facebook and add a few more.
Yeah, it's probably need to share a little bit more along the journey. So.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. Thanks so much, James. Appreciate it.
Thank you for the time. Appreciate it as well.